Money Moicano is back, and he is facing the French Special Forces agent Marauder, that is Benoit Saint-Denis. The both have never competed in a main event before, and it should be fireworks. As far as this matchup goes, I wanted to look into what both guys do really well, both on the feet and in grappling. So let's just begin with Money Moicano. Hanato's striking is nothing extraordinary or phenomenal. He's got good basics. He's got solid athleticism, decent jab when his opponent is much smaller than him. His kicks are alright. He showed a really good calf kick way back in the day. He was like the first guy to low kick Calvin Kattar, and that won him the fight pretty much. Did he get a sub in that fight? I don't remember. But he's got a very fundamental striking game for MMA, and that doesn't mean it's bad or basic. He's got effective striking, and he can hit reasonably hard. He has no TKO or KO finishes in the UFC other than his last fight, which was obviously due to ground strikes against Jalen Turner. But he is to be respected on the feet, much more than some other guys who are more jiu-jitsu dominant. And that is where Renato Moicano's game shines the most, is when it gets on the ground and it becomes a little bit of a jiu-jitsu match. Renato can shoot traditional takedowns like a single leg or a double leg, but he prefers getting to that body lock and tripping you a variety of different ways from there. Back body lock takedowns, the simple step in the middle, bring you to the other side. He's got, again, traditional basic body lock takedowns, but they work for a reason, and they're the basics for a reason. They work, and they work effectively. When Moicano does eventually get it to the ground, he has great top pressure, great top control. He passes very well out of closed guard or open guard, and he follows the very traditional route of jiu-jitsu. When Moicano is at his best, he's taking you down, passing your guard into the mount, posture up, get a few punches in, you give up your back, he takes your back, RNC. He's got 8 or 9 wins by rear naked choke in his career, but he has 6 in the UFC, and those are all of his submission wins. So he's very dangerous on the back, and you don't want to be giving up your back to Renato Moicano. When it comes to Benoit Saint-Denis style, the word that I used earlier, marauder, I feel fits perfectly. The word marauder has French origins, and the definition of marauder is someone who marauds. Makes sense. But marauds is someone who is, let me read it. Roam in search of things to steal or people to attack. And for me, that describes Benoit perfectly. He is roaming, more like just blitzing his opponent and searching for their soul and searching to attack them. That's a little bit much, but he's just a pressure and pace fighter to the highest degree. Benoit, as we know, doesn't have the most technically perfect striking. A lot of the times his hands are right down by his waist. His boxing fundamentals specifically are not that great. He throws everything into his shots. He overextends on his left hand. His hands are never coming back to his face when he's punching. Yeah, he's falling over his feet when he's punching. It's not great. But where he lacks in some technique, he more than makes up for in toughness and willingness to fight. I'd be remiss if I did not mention the body kick, or just left rear kick, of the southpaw Benoit Saint-Denis. He has faced primarily orthodox opponents other than his last fight against Dustin Poirier, which he obviously lost. But when he faces orthodox opponents, he blasts this rear side body kick. And he will mix it up to the head, but in his fight with Ismael Bonfim, in the first 30 seconds, he threw 7 rear, open side kicks. I think most of them were to the body and some were to the head. He does prefer going to the body, but you do have to think about defending the head kick, because it's not like he can't get the leg up there. He just prefers to blast that body kick, and he does it so often. I wonder what his body kick per minute stat is. That would be a funny stat to look at. But the rear kick is so effective in that southpaw versus orthodox matchup, because obviously the liver is available when the southpaw is kicking, because you're kicking to that liver side, and that can obviously be devastating. But even when your opponent blocks it, you are occupying their right arm, which is their power arm and their power punch. Like, that arm constantly has to be thinking defensively because of just how much Benoit Saint-Denis blasts that left body kick. Like, his opponent has to be in a defensive mind state with his right arm, which shuts down kind of the power shots from that arm. Like, sure, you can block and then throw, but you're always kind of thinking like, oh my goodness, he's going to blast the body kick. I have to think high as well. And Benoit Saint-Denis isn't scared to get taken down off of his kicks because he has really great get-ups when he does get taken down. And he is primarily a grappler himself, so engaging in the ground doesn't worry him. When BSD does his most effective work is when he backs his opponent against the cage and starts winging like hooks. He does like a sloppy Dustin Poirier impression where he's just got his opponent backed up against the fence and he's squared off in his stance and he can throw hooks from both sides. This kind of traps his opponents in a spot where they either have to exchange with him, which usually doesn't turn out horrible because his boxing fundamentals are not that great, but his chin is phenomenal, so he'll take shots. But they're either forced to trade with Benoit, shoot themselves on a takedown. Shoot themselves sounds crazy. Like, they have to shoot for a takedown, or they can find a way to circle out. But usually it's those first two decisions, and Benoit doesn't mind this because when they start to strike with him, like, he's winging his big hooks, and then when they start to think, okay, we're in a slugfest and I'm throwing some big hooks back, that's when Benoit gets to his more effective, in my opinion, grappling game. Benoit Saint-Denis loves the double leg against the cage. That is primarily the takedown that he goes to when he has his opponents backed up. And like I said, ducking under, looping shots from his opponent that he draws out by getting in this slugfest with them, shoots under, and gets into a very effective grappling game, focused on wearing his opponents down with just taking them down over and over, making them carry his weight on like the back body lock, kneeing the thigh. Ground and pound is good. He's got really heavy ground and pound, and he's got good top game as well. And the submission threat is there. Like, he has one or two rear naked chokes in the UFC, but he's got the submission ability, and it's just an exhausting style for his opponents to deal with. So now that we've gone through both fighters and their styles, one thing that I want to touch on is how Moicano deals with southpaws, and specifically southpaws with a similar style to Benoit. I know Benoit's got a very unique, pretty one-of-one style in terms of how wild he is, but the weapons that he uses are traditional for southpaws. And one opponent that comes to mind immediately that is very similar to Benoit that Moicano has faced is Rafael dos Anjos. Southpaw with high pace, solid pressure, good takedowns, an effective top game with good ground and pound. You could call RDA like a less wild BSD, probably a more technically refined BSD. For those of you who have watched the RDA Moicano fight, it's not looking too good for Moicano in this matchup. One thing to bring up, however, is Moicano did take this on really short notice, but with that being said, RDA battered Moicano for 5 rounds. What Dos Anjos did really well in that fight was drawing out counter punches from Moicano, similar to how Benoit does with the slugging. Drawing out those counter punches from Moicano and then ducking under for reactive takedowns. And he had great top control in this fight. And Benoit isn't going to be scared to shoot takedowns on Renato Moicano because of the jiu-jitsu game of Moicano. That's not something that Benoit is going to do. Benoit is not changing his game for anyone. Benoit is going to be Benoit, and that's not changing. So he will shoot. And RDA proved that it can be very successful, even though Moicano does have that excuse of taking it on very short notice. And it's not an excuse that isn't like warranted. Like, he did take it on short notice, and he was tough as hell to survive it. But another thing that I want to mention is that southpaw kick was effective against Moicano, and it even got him dropped in the 3rd round, where he was already looking very tired. His hands were down. He was trying to move his head. He was trying to hide that he was tired, but he looked very tired. And RDA clattered him along the side of the head with a southpaw high kick, and this dropped Moicano. So the left body kick, head kick is definitely going to be something that BSD is looking for. Whether or not Moicano has been tagged with it before, BSD was going to be spamming it because he always does. But I'm sure BSD's team has seen this, and they'll be threatening bringing it up to the head. Obviously, they'll slot it into the body, but that's just something you got to keep in mind. Where I see Moicano's best chance in this fight is if he can control Benoit Saint-Denis on the ground. As I said before, Benoit Saint-Denis has shown the ability to bounce back up to his feet relatively well. He did it against Thiago Moises out of, I believe it was like open guard, butterfly hooks, got to double unders, and just stood his way back up really nice and quickly. Like, this kind of goes along with his hectic pace in there. As soon as he gets taken down, he's working right back up to his feet. He's not taking a second like, okay, let me get an underhook. He's just, as soon as I get taken down, all right, I gotta work, and I'm getting up quickly. So if Moicano can neutralize that and control BSD, get to his upper body lock takedowns, take him down, and just bank rounds in that way, I think that would be the best route for Moicano. And obviously, if he can get to the mount, start to damage him, and maybe get him to turn his back and get to the rear naked choke, that is a possibility without a doubt, because Moicano is very, very good at that. But I feel like it will be tough to control BSD, as he has shown the ability to just spring back up to his feet. With all of that yapping concluded, I want to get to a final prediction. Predicting fights is stupid, and it's not like predicting any other sport. Anything can happen in fighting. With that being said, if I were to make a prediction on this fight, I would be picking Benoit Saint-Denis to get a TKO finish. Although Moicano is super, super tough, I'd probably go BSD by TKO finish in 2nd or 3rd round. I think Benoit's intensity out of the gate will put Moicano in just a defensive cycle straight from the beginning, and I don't know if he'll be able to get out of it. The style that I believe fits best to beat Benoit is a style like Dustin Poirier's, a dangerous counterpuncher who can defend the takedowns, not get tired while doing it, but has serious power and timing in those close, like, punching exchanges where Benoit does present a lot of openings to be hit. And if you can continue to hit him and defend the takedowns, and even if you do get taken down, not using too much energy, not getting too gassed, standing back up and getting back to power counter punching. That's what Poirier did so well in that matchup, and I don't think Moicano possesses that dangerous counter punching ability enough to garner Benoit's respect and to hurt Benoit. I just don't think it's going to happen. So that's why I got Benoit by TKO, 100% finish rate. I think he'll keep that up. Even though Moicano is super tough, the Paris crowd behind Benoit. I was watching the fight with Moises, the free fight that they put on YouTube, and every time Benoit landed like a knee to the thigh when he had him in the back body lock, the whole Paris crowd went, "Hey, hey," like, just that Paris energy is going to be behind Benoit, and it'll propel him to victory against Moicano. I could be completely wrong. I hate predicting fights, but I keep doing it. So do I really hate it? We'll see. We'll see if I'm right. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you for watching, and enjoy the fights. They happen at a decent time. It's not at like 10 p.m., so you don't got to stay up till 2 a.m. watching them like the last one with 2 5-round, 25-minute wrestlings at the Sphere. This one goes down at 3 p.m. my time, so it'll be done. Get some good sleep. That's key. Get some good sleep, guys. Sleep helps. All right. Thanks for watching, and peace.